All right, 45 modules in 45 minutes. As we already said, I am John Rearick. I'm at Iowa State University. I'm also one of the organizers here for DrupalCorn, if you didn't already know that. So we've got 45 modules to cover in 45 minutes. So the list of modules that I am going over is the list of modules that are tagged Drupal 8 compatible and sorted by the most installed. So one caveat about this list is that most installed means between all versions of Drupal. It doesn't filter within the major versions of Drupal. So well, I hope that didn't. Just a moment. I hope that doesn't kill the recording. There we go. All right. I'm glad I know to push that button when that happens. So yeah, I'll probably be taking some liberties and kind of glossing over some of the most popular modules since they're hugely popular in Drupal 7 and they might have been integrated into core in Drupal 8. So let's get started. This is module number 0, so it doesn't count. This is an example of how each slide is going to go. As you can see on the top left, it says 0. That's the module number that we're on. So you kind of know how far we are through the slide deck. And then if there's not a full release of the module, there's a little warning on the top right. So that's something in Drupal 8 that's kind of annoying some people, is that they're not getting full releases tagged, even though they're hugely popular and used everywhere. So depending on your corporate policy about you need to have full supported modules and stuff, that it can be kind of a pain. That's something we need to work on, I think. Then we got a description there, short description, as best as I could get it from the module page. Holy cow, we're going too fast. All right. And it's auto-advancing, and you see the numbers going by. So the number 1 module here we got is token. There is limited token support in core, but we still have the token module, which gives you this nice little token browser anywhere you can use tokens. So this is really good for things like Pathauto, where you want like your node, your path to be like /node title instead of /node/123. We'll get to the Pathauto module here in a little bit. But this is pretty much installed on every site because it's so useful everywhere. And I can kind of skip ahead so I don't have to take the full time. ctools, don't really need to worry about it in Drupal 8, but it was installed pretty much on every single Drupal 7 site, which is why this is still so popular. It was a requirement for the views module, so everybody who had views would do that. And since the views is not a Drupal 8 module and it's in core, we're not going to see views on this list because it doesn't have a Drupal 8 compatibility. As a contributed project, it's already in core. So this is kind of a remnant of views. All right, so I talked about Pathauto in the token module. So as I said before, you can set patterns for the path that your node or whatever, anything that has a path. So this would work for taxonomy term paths and all sorts of other kinds of things. So instead of the default node 123, you can go to /blog, / the date on the blog post, / the blog title. Everyone should have this installed. But it makes it so much easier for your visitors to see what's going on. And then if you're going to migrate later, this node 123 may not be the same on the next revision or rebuild of a site. So try to hide that node 123 part if you can. And that's something Drupal.org does not do right now, if you see. Admin Toolbar. This is a nice little helper module that makes the admin system a lot easier to navigate. So in DrupalCorn, you have to click, to drill down to where the configuration you're looking for is. But with this module, it's a drop down and you can just navigate your way to where you want to go. So it's just a little thing that makes life a little bit easier. Metatag. So this is something that sometimes kind of gets put in the background. It's nothing you usually see like displayed on the page, but it's in the metatags stuff at the top of your HTML document, right? So what this does is allows you to edit those meta tags, and there's all sorts of really neat stuff in there. One of the most powerful things about it is you can add like the Facebook Open Graph meta tags, which allows you to define maybe an image that should be shared when you put the link into Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So, when you put a link into Facebook, it kind of tries to figure out what picture to use. You can tell it what picture to use and have control over how your stuff gets shared. It also does search engine stuff, so if you want things to be not indexed, you do no index. And there's a whole bunch of other helper modules to integrate all the meta tags you can do. So entity reference revisions. You probably don't need this unless another module asks you to install it as a dependency. This is a big thing for, if you've heard of the paragraphs module, before layout builder. I think we'll get to the paragraphs module in a little bit. But this is kind of a glue module that helps keep track of entity references between revisions of those entities. So if you have an entity reference to one version of a different entity, you can keep it there when it gets updated. So it's really kind of complicated to explain and follow along. So it's just if you need it for, say, paragraphs. So the idea of paragraphs, and I guess a little bit layout builder now, that's in core. Before we had layout builder in Drupal 8, paragraphs was kind of the go-to kind of way to lay out or organize your content on a page. So this goes with componentized page building. You're able to move entities within a node, rearrange them to different sections. Some people went as far as configuring these things to be in different columns and stuff, but it's more of an information architecture thing, and I think you can put it together with your theme a little bit to make it look good. I never really actually used it myself, I just played a little bit with it. But I think more people are going towards the layout builder side of things. Webform. Grabbing information from visitors. So a lot of times you want to have people submit, I don't know, maybe you have an IT help desk or something, you can put up a form that will send an email to the help desk people, or you're collecting information, I don't know what information you want to collect, but it allows you to collect information in a nice way. And the nice thing is it automatically, you can have it set up to email, like I said. You can get CSV files or Excel files out of there. And you can do multi-page forms. You can do a lot of different things. And they're not nodes in the database. Because on the back end, for like fields on nodes, they're actually like, each field has its own table. Whereas Webform, it's a lot simpler and faster and less overhead. Field group. Again, this is one of those RC release ones. It allows you to group fields into tabs or field sets, or you can have little accordion things to expand or close different sets of fields. Or you can just enclose things in divs in order to be able to theme your fields a little bit nicer. It's really good for managing that sprawl on that node edit form, because by default, it's just field, 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 field. This kind of helps you break it up for your content editor. However, Display Suite may be able to do a lot of the stuff the field group module here does in Drupal 8, since we now have field display on Drupal 8. So if Display Suite doesn't work for you, field group might be something to look at. Redirect module. This is almost a must-have module, I would say. So we talked about Pathauto changing node 123 to /title. But that node 123 is still a valid URL. You can go there and it will display the same thing. That could get you it could split your search engine results for that page in two and make it rank less. So you kind of, if somebody goes to node 123, you want them to go to your nice friendly alias. So redirect module will do that for you. It'll also help you put in, say you have a promotional thing, you go to mysite.com/promotion, and it can redirect to a web form page somewhere where you can track campaign codes or whatever. And it can also do uppercase, lowercase fixing. So if somebody doesn't capitalize it right, it figures it out and gets you to the right place. Devel module. I'm kind of surprised this is up in the top 45 or even top 20. It's number 11. Really, you probably shouldn't have it installed or enabled on production. But as a developer, they can install this on their local environment and be able to have special functions and tools to make it easier to develop. So when you're actually coding and stuff, you can do, say, like the kint function. You can put a variable kint and then $, whatever object or variable, and then when you load the page, it has a really nice little breakup of like, okay, here's all the stuff in that variable. So if you're developing, it's worth looking into. CAPTCHA module. This is used as a base for other CAPTCHA systems that you can install on here. We'll get to another one here in a little bit that will require this module. It's currently beta 4, but it seems to be under pretty active development. The last release was October 21st. So it's yeah, you guys know what a CAPTCHA is when you go and do the squiggly lines or point out what are street names and stuff. So this module helps you assign it to different forms and stuff. If you don't know what CAPTCHA means, this is a little knowledge nugget. Completely automated public Turing test to tell computers and humans apart. That's a mouthful. Google Analytics. How many people track analytics for their? Yeah. It's pretty simple. We use Matomo, a locally hosted analytics thing, so I don't really play much with Google Analytics. But
you say that you use locally?
Matomo, M-A-T-O-M-O. That's a whole another product that you set up another server for that. But Google Analytics is the de facto analytics suite for your sites. And you can, as you can see, there's lots of configurations, so you can do all your conversions and whatever paths and promotions and AdWords or AdSense or whatever. It's got all sorts of configuration for that stuff.
Do you use this, or you don't use it then? Tag Manager versus Google Analytics?
Yeah, we don't go that far.
Okay.
Yeah. Video embed field. I think now part of the media management system in the last release or two kind of covers most of what this module would do. But it was a very easy way to get videos onto your site. You install this, you say you can either add a field for YouTube Vimeo URLs. You put the URL in there and it will embed the video for you. It also comes with a WYSIWYG button. So it's very simple. You click on the WYSIWYG button, you put in a YouTube or Vimeo URL, and it will put the embed code in there for you, and you don't have to worry about copying and pasting it out of YouTube or trying to figure out how to make it safe for your people to put in embed codes from different places. But yeah, if core doesn't do what you need for embedding videos, that's definitely worth looking into. Simple XML sitemap is a bare bones XML sitemap. This kind of works as a hint to crawlers, web crawlers like Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever, so that they can kind of see the layout of your site or where things are. It's mostly you just install it and you do a little bit of configuration and you get a little bit of extra help for your search engines. Inline entity form. This is RC2, so there's not a full release yet, but the last release of the RC was September of this year, so it seems to be in development. This was very popular in Drupal 7, especially in commerce sites, because they have this relationship between products and product displays. And a lot of times you want to, when you're filling out a node form and your node is referencing something else, you want to edit that something else without having to leave that form. So inline entity form allows you to bring in that other entity edit form into your other node so that you don't have to go back and forth between two things that are related. You can do it all in one form, one page, one submit button. Entity browser can be used as an entity reference widget on the WYSIWYG. So there would be an entity browser button in the WYSIWYG. You click on it and it can come up with like a modal popover where you can say you can have views that go through all the different entities on your site. So you do this with like a media library, or you have a set of images that you use across the site or whatever. You can browse your media assets that you can embed, or you can reference as references in other places. I don't know if Core has something like that now, or if we still need Entity Browser. We've been doing pretty simple sites lately that really it's overkill to have a huge browser. Search API. So if your site gets really big, maybe you started out using the core search module, and all that does is puts a table with all the keywords on your database, and it's not necessarily the fastest or most configurable thing you can do, but Search API allows you to have a little bit more sophisticated search. So you can outsource your search to things like Apache Solr or Elasticsearch or whatever, to be able to index and categorize things and do things by relevancy and stuff like that. So really, you'll need this for different modules that require Search API or add search functionality to your site. Entity API is mostly not a thing in D8 anymore. This is RC in Drupal 8, but for the most part, this was really important to have in Drupal 7. But in Drupal 8, most of what was available in this module got put into core. There are a few things that didn't quite make it into core, so they're kind of niche things. So if core doesn't get you what you need, Entity API might have something. I don't think I even have it installed on a Drupal 8 site. So So it's mostly on this list because of how popular it was in Drupal 7. So the mail system module. So by default, Drupal can send emails, right? It uses the built-in PHP mailing system that goes through your whatever mail system you have on your server, probably like a Postfix or something. But this allows you to use different backends, I guess, for formatting and sending emails. So you can do it, per module, per type of email. In Drupal 7, you had to have templates. In Drupal 8, it works with just about any template. Yeah. Okay, I think I got my notes messed up here. Okay, embed field, or embed, is a framework module. There's no UI to it, but it's used to embed entities. Come on. Into your WYSIWYG editor. So if you wanted to have like a special YouTube button or something, this would probably help you out doing something like that. And I think for the most part, entity embed, or that entity browser thing that we were looking at before, was probably good for that. Better exposed filters. This one it's not a full release, but it's still really actively developed. It's the last release of 8x 4.0 Alpha 1 was done just this month in November, so it's within the last week. But what this does is it gives you more options on how your views exposed filters work. So, when you add filters to a view, you only have so many options to be able to, say I want checkboxes or radio buttons or a drop-down menu. You can have a lot more options to be able to change how those are displayed for you. So if the UI for your exposed filter could use some, a little bit more love, it's definitely worth checking out that module. Crop API. This is an API module used by other modules, and I don't think the other modules made it on the top 45 list, but we can talk about those later. But this is an API to allow you to do custom cropping on images when you upload them. So yeah, you don't really need to install this unless another module asks you to install it. And again, this is RC1. Twig Tweak. It's a small module, really useful for themers, that adds some useful functions and stuff for your Twig templates to be able to do stuff. I am not a front-end person, so I can't really tell you what those things are because I don't do that stuff. But if you're thinking that Twig could use a certain function, maybe the Twig Tweak module will give you a little bit more flexibility or help in being able to make your templates a little bit quicker and easier. So we talked about CAPTCHA module before. That had the kind of the base API for CAPTCHA. Probably one of the most popular CAPTCHAs out there is reCAPTCHA from Google. So you install reCAPTCHA, it requires the CAPTCHA module, and you can protect your forms with, you get an API key from Google to do this. And then if you have an anonymous user filling out, say, a web form, and you don't want bots filling in all that information, you can protect it with reCAPTCHA, and they can help Google learn how to drive. So you get to choose which images are cars and which are bicycles or buses or street addresses or whatnot. Libraries API. This is Alpha 1. There is a little bit better support in core for third-party libraries. Mostly this has to do with things like JavaScript libraries. All right, so if you're doing like if there's like a CK editor plugin or something, or a weird JavaScript thing that you need for a particular module, libraries helps manage bringing those JavaScripts into your site. Yeah. So really, if there's a module that says it needs it, then you'll probably go out and download it. IMCE. How many people are familiar with IMCE? Yeah. So this is basically a file browser. We don't really use it because people are really terrible at managing files. So we like to try and do it for them in the file fields and stuff. But if you really want to give them access to folders and stuff to be able to upload random files to the files directory, IMCE is available to have on your WYSIWYG editor. So if you don't want like the entity browser thing, you can just do an IMCE thing. I've never actually used it really because of that organization issue. But if that's the way you roll, you can go that way. That's totally fine. Entity embed. All right. So this module allows you to embed a different entity in the middle of your WYSIWYG. So you get a button or whatever on your WYSIWYG bar, and you can say, click on that, and I say, go find this event, and it will put that event somewhere, wherever you have the insert part on your body. So you can reference, like in a news release, you can reference an event node or something, and it can be displayed with a particular display type. For the most part, people do this now with paragraphs or layout builder. So depending on how you want to do things. This was pretty popular. Address. So if you need formalized address, which is, like shipping address or house address or whatever, this provides functionality for storing, validating, and displaying postal addresses. And it has international support. You can configure it to collect certain things, so if you know everything's going to be in the United States, you don't have to have the country drop down. And if you're going to be doing things like shipping or mapping, next session Brian Webster is going to talk about mapping. I think he's going to use the address module to be able to put that against an API to look up what the coordinates are. And what address does is it breaks down that information for you. You don't have to worry about, what is it called, a province or a county or a state or locality, all these geeky terms for geographic information system. The address module does that for you. A note on the address module, it requires Composer because it has a external PHP library dependency. Link it. Oops, my notes say, oh right, it's got a stable version. But it's a nice little button for your WYSIWYG that allows you to link to other nodes on your site. It's pretty neat. So if you don't remember the URL for that other page that you wanted to link to, link it button, you click on that, you start typing the name of the node, and it'll complete it for you. Very simple. But very useful if you're linking between different things a lot inside of your text. So the Honeypot module. This is an interesting concept. People do not like filling out CAPTCHAs, and even for us, it can be difficult because it says, tell me what's a sign, but it's blurry enough to not know whether it's a sign or is a license plate a sign, or is the open sign in the window a sign that they're looking for, or whatever. Honeypot is completely hidden from your visitor. What it does is it adds a Trojan field, I would call it. It hides it with CSS. So it adds a field to the form, say it's called website or something, that you don't already have on your form. And when bots go see the page, they see the field, they put something in there. And then if you get a result with something in that field, you know it's a bot, and you can not take the submission. It also has a couple other things. It's very good for first line defense, but once you get targeted by an actual thing, you'll need to.
Last I saw with that was that it was only available on 7. Do they have a version available for 8? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Configuration Update Manager. This is mostly used by the features module in Drupal 8. And features was a big thing in Drupal 7 for managing configuration. But in Drupal 8, we've got the configuration management system. So features really is kind of fallen out of use in Drupal 8. But what this does is it provides a framework for updating your configuration. So say you update a module or change the default config it provides or added new config items, and you want to import that new stuff when you update the module. That's kind of helps you do that. D8 Editor Advanced Link module. So in Drupal 7, the default link button on your CK editor had all sorts of stuff in it, right? You could add target, you could add classes, there's dozens or so or fields that you could do for link. Now in Drupal 8, the link button is just like a link, maybe a title. It's very simple. But if you wanted to get all those things back, D8 Editor Advanced Link, you install this module, configure it in your text format, and you pretty much have that same functionality back again. Personally, I like the core link module because I don't like burdening my users with too many fields. But if you got a power user that needs those things. Backup and Migrate is a staple module from Drupal 7. There's a Drupal 8 release with basic backup and restore functionality. So there's a lot of features missing yet between 7 and 8. But if all you need to do is some basic, very basic, I need to back up my database and files, it can probably do that for you. Unless you're doing it yourself with like a bash script or something, which is probably a better idea, I don't know. But if you need a quick and dirty way to back up your site, Backup and Migrate can probably help you. Config filter. This is mostly required by the config split module. What this does is allows you to set up different sets of configuration for, say, different environments. So you have one Drupal site in live, stage, and development. Configuration would have something like, I don't know, an API key or something. You don't want to use the production API key in your development environment. So config filter helps do that split, so you can do it based on environment. You can import your site's configuration, different configuration based on different environments you're in. DropZone.js. This is Alpha 4, last release April. I haven't used it really, but I think the idea is that you should be able to drag and drop files into your WYSIWYG and it will upload it and preview it for you. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it, but apparently it's pretty popular. Maybe it was more of a Drupal 7 thing, I'm not sure. views infinite scroll. So you know those websites that never end?
Facebook.
Yeah. You keep scrolling and more stuff loads. You keep scrolling and more stuff loads. You can do that with views and views infinite scroll. So as long as you still have content, it's sort of like a pager, but not a pager. It's an automatic pager within the same thing. So it keeps loading more and more as you scroll down. It can be kind of buggy sometimes. You can configure it to do it automatic, or you can, this example is showing a button to press. I don't really use it because I really like to be able to get down to the footer to find the contact information and you know, stuff on the footer. So, but if you want to, you know, be like Facebook or something, you can do that. SMTP authentication support. This is still in beta, but the last release was just in October. But this is probably a good idea if your site is sending lots of emails, especially transactional emails. So like, you know, password resets or, you know, reminders about events or something if people can sign up for things, and your site's sending emails to people. SMTP authentication support allows you to use an authenticated SMTP server in order to send emails. What that does is it allows you to get the protection in, I don't know, the email blacklist voodoo stuff that, you know, your email department can, you know, make your emails more deliverable through their authenticated SMTP service. You can have better reliability with your emails rather than coming from some unknown web server that will get blocked by some ISPs. Blazy, or is it Be Lazy? I never know how to pronounce it out loud. Blazy or I'm going to go with Be Lazy because it's lazy loading images. It's a JavaScript library that will it'll prevent images from loading that are past your scroll point until you actually scroll down there. So if you have a long page with lots of really high resolution images and stuff, it'll load the page, you get the images you're looking at the top, and it won't load the rest of the images until you scroll down. So it's kind of like, it makes your page a little bit more responsive or quicker to load initially so that your users can interact with it. Colorbox, this is a module I haven't personally used, and it looks like it has a composer dependency, so if you're not on Composer yet, you should probably figure that out. I was hoping there would be a session about Composer here, but there's plenty of videos out there at Drupal.tv. You'll probably find some Composer videos. I guess this is used in Drupal Commerce, but this is a field formatter, so I suppose you could put it on a multi-value image field, and in the manage display you can say use Colorbox to display this, and then you'll be able to have a little modal slideshow or whatever for your pictures.
You use it for pop-up mail?
I don't know.
I use it for that.
Oh, okay, cool. Display Suite, we probably talked about. It's very popular in Drupal 7, and it's still popular and has a place in Drupal 8. Allows you to rearrange fields and layouts. A lot of its functionality moved into core, but like I said, it has its use in other places too. So if you're having a hard time trying to get something laid out quite right in core, Display Suite may be something to look at. And I think we use that in ours, but I'm not really a front-end sort of person, so I haven't really dove into exactly what the difference is. Swift Mailer, it's in beta. What this is a Symfony library. The Symfony framework Drupal uses, but it has extra things that you can optionally add on. So SwiftMailer, you can configure to send emails directly through another SMTP server. It replaces the mail function in Drupal or in PHP. It allows you to send HTML emails. You can add attachments or inline images. It sort of expands the way you can do email in Drupal. But it feels like more of a library than anything that you can like pointy clicky. Adminimal admin toolbar. So we talked about the other toolbar with the drop downs, and this is maybe a different version of that. Again, this is something that has a composer dependency. Okay, I copy and pasted the wrong notes. Yeah, it's a minimal admin toolbar for Drupal 8, so if you like a different style of toolbar, you can use that. Migrate Plus. Core does a lot of stuff with Migrate now, which is great, but sometimes there's things that it doesn't cover, edge cases. So Migrate Plus, you can expand on the core Migrate stuff, and Migrate Plus provides lots of extensions to do different things for your migrations. So I don't know, I haven't actually done a migration yet, so that's a big can of worms. I hear most people are using Migrate Plus with Migrate in order to do their migrations, because it adds lots of common things that you need for a migration. And on that front, there's Migrate tools. The big thing about this one is that you can do the drush commands for migrations. And it has a little UI so that you can go in and see how your migrations are going on the site itself. And that was 45. Halftime? I skipped through quite a few, so I'm like, do I need 60 seconds to talk about a short toolbar? So yeah, only 7,903 more modules to go. Yeah, I scheduled a BOF that will be in here today during BOF time in front of this room. So if we have other modules we want to share that are useful, I mean, the top 45 modules, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many random modules out there that do cool and useful things. I'm always learning about a new module that does something that used to be a pain point for me, and being able to hear what other people are using, how they're using it is really interesting. Like, John, you were saying you're using Colorbox that have like help, pop-up help. Yeah, so that's an interesting idea. I never heard of that as a way to use that. So yeah, I encourage, if you're interested, come to that BOF. I don't know if this has been going around, but we need your feedback on how the camp is going. So if you go to drupalcorn.org/feedback-survey, we got some surveys to review the sessions you went to. Did it go good? Did it needs improvement? How did you like the venue? Did you go to training? How did that go? You kind of want to know how we're doing, whether we want to come back here again next year or find a different place. And yeah, that's all I've got.
I'd offer one comment on that video embed field.
Yeah.
I used that, but at the end of the video, you may be presented with snakes versus buffaloes and this and that you can't control. So if you use the embed code and put REL = 0 at the end, then it will just recommend things in your channel. So I ran into that problem.
Oh yeah.
So if you do it just by the URL, you're subject to their recommendations.
Okay. I wonder if there's a a little patch we could
I
develop.
don't know, I tried to look it up and I didn't find the answer, so I was using it in views, so I have a field that has the embed code in it, and I use that to display it, where I can restrict the recommended videos.
So I think, so we started at 10, sessions were 45 minutes, so I think we're on time. Is that right?
Okay.
All right.
It's nice to have that timer.
Yeah. And I spent some time at the beginning talking about things before actually getting in, so it worked out well. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.